endless skies. Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained, I thrive, I thrive.
Thank you so much for joining us on Nomads 50 Plus. My name is Chris Kalaboukis, and I'm coming at you from Athens, Greece, where it is beautiful today. We had a fantastic day, and it's just cooling off because it's in the evening.
Nice. And this is Mary Bartnikowski. I've been traveling full time for 19 years, and I am the CEO of Fun, and I'm happy to help you start your adventurous life this year. So,
Nice. Well, if you're the CEO of Fun, I'm the CTO of Games. So let's do it in the right order this time.
exactly. Yes.
So something that's been on the minds of a lot of the digital nomads that I talk to, or we've been talking to, has been funding, money. How do you fund your travels, right? Because that's
Okay.
a lot of people love to, I mean, they want to travel, but I think that's the number one reason why they don't. They're concerned about their finances, how they're going to be able to fund it. So I know there's lots of different ways to do this, but maybe you can give us a start.
Well, okay. So the first thing is one size does not fit all.
Hmm.
So something that's going to work for another person might not work for you. So since I am an expert in solo travel, I approach it from that place because the myth is that it's going to cost less if you go with another person. That's not necessarily true.
Hmm.
But okay, so there's kind of three different ways you can do this. You can do it, save up your money and then go. Of course, making your money in United States, Australia, Europe, because you tend to get paid better.
The 4 hour work week model where you just
That
work really hard for a condensed period of time and save up a bunch of money and then go. That's one method.
I agree with you, except for not the 4-week, 4-hour day. That has never worked for me.
Well, I know. I mean, I read that book and I thought this guy doesn't work for 4 hours, but the concept was sound. Is like work a bunch of concentrated hours or time and maybe do multiple jobs at the same time. Just get a bunch of money piled up and then
Yeah.
use that money to go off and do something. And then
So
you can either wait for it all to be gone or wait for some of it to be gone, then come back and do more.
yeah, so that's what I did when I first started. I saved up a big chunk of money from my photography business. And then I would take 3 to 10 months off.
Nice.
And I wouldn't have to work that whole time because I had enough money to sustain myself. Now, the other part of it is I didn't go to Europe in the summer. I went to lower cost countries. Like everything is lower cost than the United States. The thing that people don't realize is the United States is the most expensive place to travel and live.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, it is. So you have to decide how you want to do it. You want to do it that way, and then I would do volunteer projects where I would get a free place to stay quite often. Now I'm working more when I'm gone. And then the other thing you can do is you can travel and work at the same time. And then the third way is you can do a combination of both. So you feel like you're kind of on retreat, but you don't have to make money. So it just depends on how much money you want to put aside, because I think you should always have some money put aside as you travel, because you never know what's going to happen, some medical emergency. I don't know.
Yeah, because you hear about these people who just they have no money at all, and they go, "Okay, I'm going to do this," and I'm like, "Whoa, hang on a second."
And I've seen them in Thailand begging for money, and they're
Really?
white people who are from rich families, and they did.
Seriously?
I'm serious. And you
Wow.
look at them and go, "Are you kidding? I'm not giving you any money to fund your trip. You just miscalculated that you're going to need money."
Yeah.
And, you can do really well in Thailand on $1,000 a month if you don't splash out at expensive expat restaurants all the time, which costs the same as United States.
or even more sometimes. But it's
Yeah.
interesting you should say that because I think that's another sort of fallacy is that people think they have to have a huge function of money in order to travel. But the reality is that you don't need as much as you think because your perception is is US focused, right? So you think, oh, I need this much for this much for this much for this. But when you're in these other countries, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. The prices are much lower.
Well, that and the fact that you're staying longer so you can get better deals. So if you stay in a place for a month, you're going to get a much better price than if you stay for 5 days.
Right. Absolutely. So what do you say that would you say everyone's thinking about this is like the first one is seems pretty easy to imagine, right? Because everyone, I mean, most people have a job and they figure, okay, I'll just save up and then I'll go. But I guess that the more difficult option is to make money while you're traveling. And you've done that as well. It's like, what would you say is the best way to get started on that as somebody who's never done anything like that before?
Well, I have to recommend doing it the way I did it because if you save up a lot of money, you've got a lot of freedom in your choices.
Hmm.
Where you're going to go, how you're going to spend your money. You can splash out every once in a while if you like. You just have more freedom. And plus, you don't know how to do it yet.
Right.
So a lot of it is on the ground training to figure out neighborhoods, how much you want to spend per night. Like sometimes I hear about kids going to Europe backpacking. They spend all their money the first 2 weeks.
And
You
they're
could
the ones begging
easily
on the
do
street
that.
corner.
Yeah, you could easily do that because it certainly spring, summer is very expensive in Europe. Not as bad as the United States, but so I can recommend that because it worked for me.
Hmm.
And then as I started to work teaching yoga, teaching photography, doing photography assignments for expats. So these were all in-person things, nothing online digitally yet.
Hmm.
Um, and that was fun. I actually liked doing that. The online stuff, when I had my paid magazine photography and writing app in the iTunes store, I had subscribers. I had to have a really good Wi-Fi connection. And until then, I didn't realize how important it was to
Yeah.
have that because I'd have to upload all these pictures and videos and stuff and then work with a person who was laying it out. And so then that took a lot of. So it could be challenging to work as you go. However, if you didn't save up a lot of money, and I'm not even talking about a lot, I'm saying like, 6 to 7 thousand. If you're in the United States, you can save that. It's not going to take you 10 years to come up with that amount
No.
of money. And so I personally think maybe try a month and then 3 months and then longer and longer. That's exactly what I did. Well, actually, my first big one was 2.5 months. And then the next one was 6 months. The next one was 10 months. I just found myself getting more and more comfortable with the whole concept. I was doing it alone. And I just loved it. I just fell in love with it. So you don't know how you're going to feel about it until you start it and start, what are you going to do every day? Like a lot of people are doing these solo, like they say they're traveling solo, but they're really actually going in a group situation.
Mm.
That's fine, but you don't have the choice about how to spend your money. And those are always expensive.
Oh yeah.
So you can actually do it cheaper on your own.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you started, so you're saying like save up enough for a month away and then come back and make more money? Is that what you're saying? Like start with shorter trips. I mean, I'm thinking short trips like a month is not really a short trip for some people, right? For some people it's forever.
It's forever. And it's such a short time to me. But yeah, I recommend doing that because for a month, you're going to be able to get a better deal on lodging.
Hmm.
if you stay in one place. Now, if you don't want to and you want to skip around to other places, I'd say at least stay a week in somewhere just to see if you like it. But um, I just think in that first trip, that 2.5 month trip, what did I do? I went a lot of different places. I didn't stay anywhere for a whole month. And that was fun.
You were in the same
But
country for the month. You were just in different places in that country. Is that right?
no, I was in 3 different countries.
Oh, wow. So you did skip
Yeah,
around a lot.
I did skip around Nepal, India, and then I went to Bali by myself.
Would you
So
say
I
that's
did
a
a
good
lot of
first
stuff.
strategy then? Because I mean, would you say it was a good first strategy to start by skipping around until you find your groove, or better to just stay in one place right away?
Well, it worked for me because it opened up my perspective on the fact that there's a lot of different places you can go to explore. And
Right.
like India and Nepal, those places, you can't really stay in one place. You've got to go to different places to see what you love about the country. Like for me, I always go to northern India in the Himalayas, how we say it here, but they say it Himalayas.
Well, that's
And
good
I
to know.
haven't been.
In case I
I
ever go, I need to know how to pronounce it properly.
Yeah, if you're going, and so, but I haven't been to South India because the the Himalayas are fascinating, and you could travel and wander the Himalayas your whole life and not see it all. So for me, it's got all the holy stuff, the monasteries, the nunneries, the people. It's just wildly wonderful. And I
Hmm.
did it by myself.
But that you had a decent sized cushion of money, or a reasonable sized cushion of money, so you could do it without having to work at the same time.
Well, it's pretty low cost in the Himalayas. So you're not like 1 month I added up what I spent and it was less than $400.
Wow. But that was back then, right? I mean, nowadays, with inflation, it'd be a little bit more than that, I'm assuming.
Maybe it would, but these were the places I was staying were local guest houses, monasteries, which are like so low cost. Some of them are just you can make a donation, but most of them have like a price and it's less than $20. I
It
stayed in
makes
this
sense.
one place where I had to hike up a cliff to get there.
Okay, now you're freaking people out.
Well, I did this all by myself and it was amazing and I wish I had stayed longer. However, it was like this Tibetan farm that I'd heard about overlooking this holy lake in Sikkim. I mean, the
Nice.
experiences I've had were well worth the discomfort of what I had to go through. Like I realized at that place why it was so windy in the bedroom was because there wasn't any glass in the panes. But they did give you blankets. So
Well, that's good. Keeps you
yeah.
nice and cozy. Well,
So
like,
I was warm enough.
so when you were mentioning earlier, so you have the cushion of money idea, and then you have the
Yeah.
cushion of money and like making money as you're working. What about the starting with a business that isn't is location independent but not moving, so
But
you can
what?
establish it? Well, it's like so typically people who are digital nomads, they have location independent businesses, right? So they can be anywhere in the world
Yeah.
and they can work and they can
Yeah.
make money from those places. What about starting one of those before you go anywhere and then building your audience for that first and then go, okay, now I've got a decent amount of money coming in. Now I can go ahead and start traveling. Is that
That's probably the best one so far because you've got it, the cushion incoming, um, which is such a great way to approach it. Yeah.
right? But the problem with that is that maybe you'll get comfortable. Like, well, look, I've got money coming in and I'm okay. So maybe I shouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. You know what? That's a very valid observation because here's what I would do over the years when I started full time. Well, actually, before. I knew that I might get sucked back in. So as soon as I got back, I would buy my ticket out.
Hmm.
So that was my strategy. So I knew that was the most likely time that I knew getting back that it was like, oh, good, I'm going to be able to leave again. So I would get it for like 6 months away. And then I would just see that as an opportunity to save up and get ready to go again.
That's a really good idea. It's kind of like the Amazon book thing where you publish a book, you put a future dated publish on a book, and if you don't hit that date, you get banned from publishing on Amazon for 6 months or a year or something like that. So
Wow.
it's a really harsh penalty
I didn't
to
know
do
they
that.
did that. That's actually a good way to do it.
Well, it's so authors can sort of force themselves to get their work done on time because they're and then they're out of luck. So it's kind of like that. It's a forcing function, right? You've got the trip coming up. You know you're leaving, and you know you have to be prepared for it, while you're there.
Yeah. And so it's also a goal to work towards. And you're not going to not go on that trip. I have never missed a flight because I was late or I decided not to go. Once I buy the ticket, I'm going, and it's such a good mindset to be in because you know that this is something to look forward to. You're going to save your money. And then you get the best deal because it's 6 months away.
Yeah. Well, have you ever had the situation where the trip comes and you're not really quite prepared for it monetarily?
Oh, no, that hasn't happened, but um about a month before the trip comes up, I start going into complete overdrive because it's like I'm going on
Ah,
this trip.
time's out. Time's running out. Time's running out.
Yeah, I mean, one time I even sold my car,
Whoa.
and I
To
sold it fast.
make the money for the trip.
Yeah, it paid for the whole South America trip.
Wow.
And I had been planning to sell my car anyway, but this was like a perfect time to do it because what I was finding was it was becoming a real hassle to take care of it while I was gone. Now there's
Hmm.
more options for storing and things like that, but there wasn't then. So I was having all kinds of problems about it, and so I just thought I'm selling it, and then when I come back I'll just rent cars and live where I lived was actually good for transportation in California, so
Well, you mentioned something before about how you had to sell your car. Like we were talking about selling cars and getting rid of cars and things like that. And it's like
yeah.
you find that it's difficult or it's still useful to have a car if you spend a lot of time here, right?
Oh yeah, it is now. But as I approached it before, I was living a different kind of life then. So I was maintaining my apartment, I was renting it out, and I didn't really when I looked at the cost, I actually figured it out tax-wise. It was less to rent fancy cars for 6 months when I needed them. I didn't rent them all the time. Like say I had to
Wow.
go photograph a wedding.
Hmm.
It was less than maintaining a car for a full year.
Wow.
So
I
I
didn't
didn't
realize
use
it
it
was that.
that much. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's expensive.
Yeah. Well, exactly. A car sitting in the driveway is expensive if you're not using it. You're spending all that time.
You got to have insurance, you still got to maintain. I mean, it worked for me and I was surprised how well it worked for me to not have it.
Mm. So let's go back for a second to what we were talking about before. So you said that like you've been doing this for a long time. So the ways of making money from back then to now have changed a lot, right? I mean, like you said before, your internet access was spotty. It was difficult to you have to work with somebody to set up things. But now there's a lot more tools and the internet access is better. So the kinds of businesses that you would start then compared to the kind of businesses you'd start today, I'm assuming are very different.
Yeah, because well, the digital products, so I would say my iTunes app, magazine app with subscriptions coming out every month was a digital product cuz there was nothing. It was digital, sold through the Apple Store.
You had an app? You had your own app?
Yeah,
Wow. What
I
was it
started
called?
it. What?
What was it called?
It was called Vagabond Travel Mag, travel
I love
photography
it.
mags. Yeah.
I love it.
And it was all my, like, I would do, I'll send you a screenshot of all the issues. I did 12 issues. So I do it on a country, Cambodia, India.
So you just pick a country and you do like a travel, like was it travelogue or photos or what was it?
It was stories and photos. So it would be the country I was in,
Hmm.
and I would do a whole issue on India, an entire issue on Nepal. I did Myanmar, Thailand, Hawaii, different
Wow.
islands. Yeah, it was.
And this was like a downloadable product. I mean, like, do we still have that? Is that functionality still around today, or has it
It's
been supplanted by something else?
no, it. I could have kept going with it, but I just found that I had paid subscribers, so they would pay for an issue.
Hmm.
So actually, it wouldn't be. You could download it if you wanted to print the whole thing,
Right.
but you would download an issue, and it would go into your iPad or
Oh,
your,
you could just read it on online on your phone or on your
or
iPad.
you could do that.
Hmm.
Because when I was doing it, I didn't even have an iPad. I had my Mac Pro and my phone.
Was that a lot of
But
work to put together? Because it sounds like you're putting together a magazine basically, like a
it's
print
an
magazine.
entire magazine. Like my Nepal one was like 120 pages long.
Holy cow! So that's a huge endeavor to put that
It's
together.
huge.
Did you did you
And
make a
so,
decent amount of money at least from it?
um, I didn't make as much money as I thought I would because it was an investment. I had to pay for the scientific part, the technical part. I didn't know how to do that. I could do all of the creative work of the writing and the photography and the YouTube videos. But what I found was there was a lot of rigmarole with Apple that you had to deal with,
Right.
like all of these updates and stuff. Like it just got to be that was a little bit painful. I did have a person that I hired to just lay out the whole thing in a PDF, and then I'd upload it to the iTunes store. And it was a really good education. I mean, I did it for 5 years with paid
Wow.
people, and then I just was like, I can't keep this up. It's taking too much time for the amount of money that's coming in. I mean, I made my investment back, and I got a good, education from it, but that was my digital product.
Yeah, and but that was how long ago was that?
That was in 2012. I launched that app, so I was one of the first people.
Wow. And how long that you said it went for 5 years, so it went until 2017?
Yep.
And then what did you do after that? Like, or
Well,
did you
that
take a
wasn't.
break?
Well, what I did, I was doing that concurrently with all these other things, like teaching photography and yoga when I would go to a place in
Right, those are
person.
in-person things, right?
Yeah, and then I didn't do any other digital thing besides that app.
Right. So you took a
So,
break from the app for a while.
yeah, a permanent break.
Mm.
And now I'm still being approached by all these people saying, "Oh, do you want to do an app?" I'm like, "I did that 15 years ago." No, I mean, let's see,
But the time is right
2012, so
again.
13, huh? Yeah, do it
The
again.
time might be
Yeah,
right again. Maybe you were ahead
and
of your time.
yeah, I was. I was ahead of my time, and I did get a lot of yeah, people liked it. They really liked it. However, the iTunes store takes a third of your profit.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
pretty
huge chunk.
steep.
Yeah,
And then
huge
they did
chunk.
this class action suit to try to get, money back. I didn't get any money, but it was just, I think what I would rather do rather than do a subscription thing is do like a one-time product
A
where
digital
it's,
product, same
yeah,
type of thing.
same type of thing, but with less, um, because you had to do it every month. And I did it for 5 years. And I think it'd be good to do like a one-time, say like a solo travel one time. Here's all you need to do to get yourself going this year to do it.
Right. It sounds like almost everybody I talk to who's doing something like this and does have a location independent business, all is usually doing something about travel. Like it's very meta. It's like they're traveling and they're doing videos about traveling or writing about traveling or photos about traveling, but they don't seem to be doing anything other than traveling. So it's kind of meta. It's like the topic is about what they're doing, as opposed to the topic being about something else. Have you found that?
Yeah. Yes, I have noticed that, but I think it's actually good because here's what I have found paying, gurus and mentors and all this stuff. You're not really sure that they're doing what they're saying they're doing.
Mm,
Like, okay, just very recently, I won't say who, but it was a subscription thing that I was doing. And then the person said they were going to get a full-time job. I'm like, I thought you were wildly successful making 50,000 a month. Like that made me just not believe that the person had been as
was this
successful
a
as.
travel blogger or something like that? What were they
No, it
doing?
was about getting a real income from doing digital products, books.
Oh, so it's somebody who was pitching doing digital products and books, but he or he had to go get a full-time job because they couldn't really make enough money from those.
And see that,
Yeah.
and I actually paid into that. And I was like, "Oh, that's great,"
Okay,
because
we
I
all
don't
did.
know.
I'm sure we
I
all
don't.
did.
Well, I don't know how to do it. I did learn some good SEO stuff from this
Mm,
person. However, I just heard that recently, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Because me, as a person who's been self-employed for 39 years,
wow.
it's like if you are going to go and get a full-time job, something is wrong with what you're doing. And that's fine. But since this individual was basing her guru, on the fact that, oh, you can make all this money doing digital products, it's like now I don't. So I'm a lot more cautious about how I invest my money
Yeah.
with people now, and if they're really doing it. Like you have to be able to see it visibly online that they have all these subscribers and they're buying stuff and they're showing
Yeah.
screenshots. I mean,
Because there's so many scams in that space, right? I mean, the whole digital product industry, quote unquote, there's just so much going on there that it's probably not real. I mean, you see a lot of people talking about, making all this money and making all this money. I made $1 million doing this or I made $10 million doing that. It was like, if you made $10 million doing this, why are you selling me this product?
right,
Right?
right. Yeah,
If you've already made it, if you're driving a Lamborghini, at this pool, surrounded by this, beautiful mountainsides and, giant mansions, why are you selling me a product online?
I know who you
You know?
mean. And so I don't, okay, so here's the thing. You got to try something to see whether you can do it
Yeah.
and whether it does work. Like I've been listening to Alex Hermosi's $100 million offer
Oh
book
yeah,
in
that guy.
audio. Yeah. And so, I think he's done
You got
well. I'm
sucked
not
in.
really.
You got sucked in.
Well, I guess I did.
100 million deal. I loved it. Just keep going up. $1 billion deal. I was gonna
Well,
do a knockoff called the $1 billion deal.
the
Christopher Lucas's
billion
billion
dollar
dollar
deal.
deal.
He does have some good ideas.
Oh, I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm sure he has
Yeah.
some good ideas. But it's like if you read the reviews, they all say the same thing. It's like, well, there's a
What?
lot of rehash in here, but there's some good ideas too. So you have to read through or listen to or read through the whole thing to get to the
I
good
found it
stuff.
easier to listen, although, I'm very particular about the voices I can listen to.
Me too. It really annoys me when I buy an audiobook and they start talking. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot stand this voice.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, you got to check out the voice first because honestly, that was one of the biggest reasons why I went with this person that's getting a full-time job because the voice was so soothing. I got completely sucked in.
But I think a lot of those things that are, here sell your digital product to make money a lot of it is probably pretty scammy, right? I mean, how much of it is actually underlying truth? We don't really know. And I think that's
Well,
probably why people are leaning towards sort of the meta products where it's like, let me just talk about what I'm doing in my life and my
Yeah.
travels, and
Yeah.
because that's authentic and that's real because they're seeing what the real person is doing and what they've created.
Well, and so that's what I was doing with my app, but I don't think people really understood that this was what I was doing.
No,
Like
they didn't think that's.
I think it should have been wildly successful
Mm,
because I was doing it. I was going to all these different countries, taking great pictures and telling my stories about it. Like,
yeah,
I feel like everybody's doing that now. How
but
come it didn't work then so well?
everything has its time. You didn't have product market fit. That was the problem. But I think the other piece of it is that every like all of this stuff is it's just an underlying deeper problem with creative works, I think. I think
Creative what
especially
works?
creative work, period.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like when we went from creative works being actual objects like paintings, sculptures, actual photographs,
Yeah.
when they went to becoming electronic, when they became virtual, I think a lot of people lost thought they lost value because they figured, oh, I can just get this delivered to me immediately. There's like no delivery costs. Artists should work for free. I'll just get this in some way. And I think that there's been like a mindset change that it's much more difficult for creators who are creating virtual objects like we are creating digital products to price those at a point where people understand the value, right? Because if you took those 100-page magazines and turned them into actual photo books, I mean, those things would be substantial and be worth a lot of money, right? But when they see it online on the iPad, they're thinking, it's not worth that much, even though you put just as much effort into it.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing a thing where I changed that particular each one of those that I did because they were books
Hmm.
and turn it into a book and
Yeah.
do some better SEO and see if that doesn't do it because it
And if you
was
could
a
do
lot.
print on demand, you wouldn't need to, if you did print on demand, you wouldn't need to have an inventory of it. You just sell it and then print it.
Well, I have print on demand for my 6 books that I have already on there. And you know what's really interesting? A lot more people get print on demand than you would think.
Hmm.
That's really interesting. They're willing to pay more to have the book in their hands.
Yeah, I think we're actually seeing a mind shift change back to physical objects again. Because I mean, I've got a bunch of Kindle books online, but I also have print on demand, and the print on demand always does better. Always
Yeah.
is better. So it never used to. There was a period of time when the ebooks were doing better, and now the print on demand is doing better. So it's kind of like I've almost gotten to the point where I'm just going to offer both and see which one does better. And it turns out that the print on demand is always does better because I think people they want those physical objects in their hands again. We're swinging back.
And I've also done 2 audiobooks out of the 6 that I have. And it's still not, they still didn't sell as much as the print on demand, which I
Yep.
think is really interesting.
Yeah. It's back. I think we're back to the physical objects. I mean, I think it's always been like this. I think there was a period of time when we all went a little cuckoo and thought digital objects would be more valuable, as valuable or more valuable than the physical objects. But I think we're kind of swinging back to the point where physical objects are now a big deal again.
Hmm.
And especially when it comes to books. I mean, my Kindle sales are almost zero compared to my print on demand sales. Everyone's going back to books.
Hey, let me ask you this. It's a technical question.
Hmm.
I didn't realize, I looked at my Kindle and all my sales and stuff. The one that sold the most was my book on the big island of Hawaii, which I
Nice.
wrote when I lived there. And interesting, I don't think, let's see, so I published that in 2014. Did you ever do any books with pictures? Because I'm wondering if they actually improved their,
No,
okay.
I'm no good at pictures. You're the
Okay, well,
one who's good at pictures.
well, but here's the thing. At that time, I don't think the paper or something, I mean, I think it could definitely be better, even though that was the one that sold the most. I mean, it has good information because I was living there as I was writing this book and, revealing all this stuff I don't even read about in other people's Big
Yeah,
Island Hawaii books.
yeah.
But I'm thinking I want to do it again, like redo the whole thing. I'm like, wow, people actually bought that one. I didn't even know. They
Well,
spent
you
how
always
much?
always pivot back to where your market is. If this is the thing that's selling the most, then get it out there. And see, I think that's probably what people should do in general is kind of like just create a bunch of stuff. Create a bunch of stuff in all different kinds of formats. And then
Okay.
see and then throw it out there and see what people buy. Right. And I think that and that's what I've tried to do is like create a whole bunch of stuff in different formats for different audiences and see what takes off. Because I think we're kind of at that point right now where it's really difficult to zoom into a specific target market and go, I'm going to create a product for that specific individual. Because you do that and you're like, and they don't buy. And you're like, wait a second, what happened? So you have to, you know, try a lot of different things. At least that's my theory.
Well, I hear you because it's the same with traveling.
Yeah.
You have to try a lot of different things to get your groove on with what works
Yeah.
with how you're going to travel. Because I can't say, I mean, I'll say this stuff to someone who really, and I used to be that person. I used to only travel in a luxury way.
Mm.
However, I've learned
That doesn't
that
last very
going,
long. You know,
well, it lasted for through
if
the
if
90s,
you're
but
not
then,
if you're not independently wealthy, that's not the
yeah,
same.
well, it wasn't even that. It was like the financial crashes. I
Oh yeah.
mean, everything changed in those two crashes. In the first 2000s, those two before 2010. Anyway, but you can still do it. It's not like you can't. Actually, you get more savvy and smarter because you don't have all this money coming in that was coming in sort of easily. And so you you've got to look at different ways to travel, to live your life, to have
Mm.
alternatives. Like, you know, you can't just go, well, I'm not ever going to travel because my husband doesn't like to travel or I have no one to travel with. Like, that one needs to be put on its head. Like, that one is just, because so many people say that to me. And I did set up these, I don't know if you got the link, but I did set up these 6 free solo travel, kickstart your new life at the really nice libraries in San Mateo County here. And I'm excited to do it because I know people are going to be there that think they can't do it when they can.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody can. It's just you just have to make the leap, and it's tough to get over that first leap. And one money is one of the issues. It's like what your family is going to say is one of the issues. There's so many, but it's the same thing with the social networks. Like every time you want to change, and I think I did a video of this on my other show. Every time you want to change yourself, you want to do something better yourself, you want to improve yourself or do something different about yourself, you're caught in this social web of everybody expecting you to be a certain way,
That's
right?
true.
And then when you decide, because you can decide tomorrow, you can wake up tomorrow morning and be a completely different person. You can make
Yeah,
that decision. But then people will go, Chris, what's wrong with you? Why are you like this? Why are you like this? Like, I expect you to act a certain way, but you're acting differently. And like, yes, I'm acting differently because I want to be a different kind of person. I want to be a new person. And so your social network tries to push you in the same box that you were in before you started changing. So you have to balance your changes with, unless you want to cut everybody else off completely. Like if you're a hermit living in the forest somewhere, you don't have to worry about how you act in front of other people. But you have to sort of expand your horizons at the same time as, if you want to keep those relationships, those things have to be in balance. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to change and you're not going to be able to continue to maintain the relationships.
well,
So
that does happen. And I
yeah,
think that's a good thing to face because many people will be upset that they're not doing it, so you shouldn't either.
right.
And in regards to the money part, what was I going to say about the money? You can, You have to make well, okay, here's a couple of other things about money that I made deciding I wanted this lifestyle. I moved to a smaller place
Hmm.
in
So you
California,
may not have to you may not be able to keep the big place that you're living in now. Although
and
if
that
you're
was
living in
fine.
California, you're not rich, you're probably not living in a big place anyway.
Well, my son was traveling already. I was sitting on the couch one day going, "Wait, I want an exciting life. What can I
Mm,
do to make that happen?" And that was my light bulb, another light bulb moment of just going,
nice.
"Oh, I need to." He's off in Morocco meeting holy men in caves, riding camels. What am I doing in this life that I'm not excited to just, I mean, I loved my photography business. Don't get me wrong. I do love doing photography. However, all of this stuff that I had to maintain to keep that going, all of a sudden I saw in a totally different way. And I thought, you know what? I don't need to have a 2-bedroom house. He's gone. So that's when I got an apartment. So I made
Yeah,
that decision. So I saved $700 a month to put in my just on the rent because it was
nice.
$700 less, but it was still in the same neighborhood in Palo Alto. And then the other thing I stopped doing was going out and drinking and carrying on with my friends like all the time. I mean, I dropped $50 like it was nothing. So that,
But
I mean,
were your friends shocked? So when you
they
were starting
were,
to change, they probably
they,
said, "Oh, what's going on with Mary's different now. I don't know if I want to hang out with her anymore. She's not the same."
well,
And you were
when I
okay with that.
stopped, I stopped drinking
Yeah,
and
that makes
that
a huge
wasn't
difference.
okay. I,
For a lot of people, that takes you totally out of their social circle,
yeah,
right?
it did.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't want to go anyway to their. Okay, so a lot of times what would happen when you're newly single, so I've been, I got divorced, 20 years ago. And, so I was trying to do dating and money and everything all at the same time. And then the crashes. But anyway, I noticed that when I was married, I would go to these parties and everybody would be married. Well, that kind of got boring.
Mm,
Like I wanted, there was something inside me that was like, I want to meet different kinds of people now that I'm different.
right.
And then I stopped drinking.
That made
So
you
yeah,
really different from everybody else.
and that did change it. And I that was a big decision I made. But I thought, no, what I'm getting when I travel is more deep for me. And
Mm,
it turned out that to have drinking friends, I mean, we're still kind of in touch with some people, but not, we don't call each other up. Like, so you find out it's okay. I mean, I still love all of them and they're wonderful, but that was like the thing that glued us together. And it was so much fun. We had a blast. But when I decided to move away from that,
but you
it was fine.
reprioritized your life, right? You decided that
Yeah.
this is what you wanted. You wanted to prioritize the travel. You wanted to prioritize new experiences with new people. You wanted to
Yeah.
prioritize being sober, right?
Yeah. And that takes guts because if you're spending $150 a week just on having a good time with your friends, like that's $600 you could put aside a month in a travel fund. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Did you-
then I was working so much that I was doing night jobs and all this stuff, so I didn't
oh
have
my
time
God, you were driving
anymore.
yourself. You're driving yourself crazy. I mean, did you ever look back on it and go, "Wow, what was I doing? What was I thinking?"
No, I was very clear on the fact that I wanted this, and I was gonna
No, I
take
mean, what were
advantage.
you thinking before with your previous life? Like, why was I doing that?
Oh, okay. Yes. I
Yeah.
did think that. I thought, oh my God, why am I spending all this? Oh, and clothes and
Well,
shoes.
you got to look good when you're out there drinking in these bars, right? I mean, you can't just,
Not only right, but you got to
yeah.
look good when you have these meetings for photography clients, and you got to look good. You got to look good going to Whole Foods because I'd run into a client and get a job.
But you live in California. You can dress like a slob every time, anywhere you want. It should be
Well,
okay,
maybe
right?
Steve Jobs can, but
Yeah, I guess
you got.
if you're a tech bro, you can pretty much wear whatever you want, like the hoodie and sweatpants kind of
I
thing.
don't think women can get away with that. I really don't. I
Not if
think
they're
it's
classy. If they're classy, they can't get away with it.
yeah, I haven't seen it. Honestly, you can be kind of dressed down, but you gotta look good. You gotta have the right
Yeah. You got to
vibe
get
where people.
the Versace hoodie instead of the like the Costco special.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but because that's ridiculous. But honestly, I think there is a thing about doing business in Silicon Valley that, after doing it for 39 years, people have to look at you and go, "Okay, I trust you. I see, what you bring to the table."
Yeah. So I know we're running out of time, so I just wanted to sort of like wrap up the money side of things.
Okay.
So what would you say, like, considering you've done this for a really long time and you're at where we are today in 2025,
Yeah.
what would you suggest somebody do to start? Let's say they don't have a location independent business now. And so you're saying your suggestion would be to start by saving up from your current job and do it that way, or start a business on the side, or what would you say? What would you recommend?
Well, there's two things. I would say reduce your expenses as much as you can because I
Hmm.
bet you're bleeding money from someplace that you could stop.
Whether it's drinking or
Honestly,
rent or your house or your clothes or
clothing,
whatever. There's something
shoes,
linking somewhere.
there's something. Now,
Yeah.
I know things have kind of gotten tough lately in the United States for a lot of people, but do that. And then the second thing is make more money.
Hmm.
Just, sometimes you have to do, like, maybe you have to accept a job. Like for me, being self employed, sometimes I'd be like, okay, that job's only going to be an hour, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to get paid really well. So you have to
Right.
ask yourself, what can you do to make extra money? I mean, in this area, dog sitting pays very well.
Yeah, side gigs. So if you have a full-time job, you can do your full-time job. Plus, if you can always take on side gigs, you can do like I said, like do a bunch of work at once, so you can pile up your funds. And if you want, start a side business at the same time. That you are looking at becoming more location independent, something that you can create content from anywhere in the world, as opposed to, or something you can do from anywhere in the world, as opposed to what you're doing now.
Yeah, that should be the goal. So if you can start doing that now, the better that you can do it in this country where there's the good Wi-Fi. And I mean, you're going to get there. But here's the thing. Here's number 3. You have to
Hmm.
make it a priority and don't listen to all the people that tell you, oh, it's dangerous. You can't go there. Everybody told me, don't go to South America by yourself. Are you crazy? You can't go there by yourself. Can I come with you? No, I wanted to do it by myself. And I knew
They
it
just
wouldn't
wanted
be
to
that.
go. They just wanted to go. They would just want to go, and they wanted to have a travel partner. That's why they wanted to go with you, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to just see the thing that's cool about solo travel is you get to do whatever the heck you want. You don't have
Mm.
to go with anybody's idea. You can stay in bed all day. You can run around and see everything. You can take your time taking a picture. Like I take time taking pictures. I'm not somebody that maybe I'm fast sometimes, but other times I'm not. Maybe I want to
Okay.
eat this food.
And your travel companion is not standing there waiting, with their arms crossed, going, "Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on, let's go." You don't have
Yeah,
to
and
worry about
sometimes
that.
you have to wait for the right second, and it doesn't involve running to see everything. Like, I don't always want to see what everybody wants to see. I like to see what I want to see, and when I get tired, I want to take a nap or whatever. I mean, whatever I want to do, I get to do.
Yeah. Like my mom used to say, whenever we did something that she didn't like, she just said, "Do what you want. You get to do what you want."
Do what you want. I don't think people get to do what they want very
No.
often. And so it can be overwhelming. You might be like, oh my God, decision fatigue. You'll get over it. It's really cool to just go with what you would like to do rather than thinking of all these people out here that you have to take care of and people pleasing and all that stuff. It's really liberating.
Yeah, and you can do it at the pace you want too. I mean, you don't have. You can do it quickly. You can do it slowly. You can do it any way you like, and you don't have to
Anyway,
depend on others. Yeah.
You don't have to depend on anybody. You don't have to be in a big group. You don't have to be told when to go to the bathroom. It's just crazy when I see these big
Someone
groups.
used to tell you to do that?
No, never, but I'll
Okay,
see
now
these
it's
groups.
time for the restroom. Everybody go.
I see this when I travel. I see these big groups of like anywhere from 15 to 50 people, and they're being told where to look, where to go, when to eat. This place you got to go to. I'm too much of a foodie to have to eat anywhere where I don't think it's going to be good. Like when I do retreats and I take people, all of the restaurants are vetted.
Hmm.
They're going to get a good experience because I've eaten there 5 or 10 times. I'm not going to. I'm not going to take that chance that it's not going to
Yeah.
be wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So, any last words before we wrap up?
Just do it and don't think about it too much. You can do it and you can have a very exciting life and never be lonely again and really have a thrilling experience every time you travel.
Fantastic. And it costs much less than you think
That's
once you have
right.
everything lined up. Once you have
And
everything
if you
lined up.
need advice, get in touch with me because I can help you save money.
Awesome. I'll put all the links in the show notes so they can connect with you. So thank you so much. This has been great. I love talking with you. It's fantastic. So much
Oh,
fun.
this was fun, Chris.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained. I thrive, I thrive. Oh, I thrive, I thrive, I thrive. I thrive, I thrive, I thrive.